Hey everybody, I'm going to talk about today how to do a PEO analysis. A lot of businesses in Florida move to PEO arrangements, which stands for Professional Employment Organization. They move to these arrangements because they bundle everything together, make it easier, but a lot of times it's a lot more costly. Some business owners like the service they get from PEOs, others only use the payroll function and get charged a huge amount for it. So today I'm going to share with you how I go through a PEO invoice to annualize it and identify what savings, if any, we can deliver to the client. So the things you're going to need for this to evaluate a prospect's PEO arrangement is a copy of their invoice. So that's going to look like this. This is a copy from Southeast. Southeast is a massive PEO where they own their own insurance company and do a lot of things. They're difficult to work with from what I understand, but a lot of times they've got some unique fees that they'll show their clients one thing, but at the end of the day, they'll be spending a lot more money. So you're going to need the payroll invoice, which looks like this, and then a copy of the payroll register. So this way you can go through and identify all of the classification codes that are used, see what they were actually paid. A lot of times when doing a PEO analysis, there's going to be one or two office people, and they may or may not break out the codes and say, here's what you're paying for the tree trimming code, here's what you're paying for the admin code, here's what you're paying for the payroll code. They're just going to lump everything together in the workers' compensation rate here. And so what I do is I go through and use this check register to figure out what exactly they're paying. However, this company has 4 people on payroll, and they're all under the tree trimming classification. So I start out, I look at the wages, so I look at Social Security. Other times we see it where they lump all of this together. Under the Social Security and Medicare, that's always going to be 7.65% of the wages. Regardless, there's no credit for overtime, so 100% of the time is going to be 7.65%. So that's a number that we can get, and I'm going to show you how to do the math to figure that out. The state unemployment rate, the federal unemployment rate, or FUTA, is going to be, it's 0.6% of the first 7,000 of payroll. One trick that PEOs do is they don't hit the cutoffs for SUTA and FUTA. So state unemployment, a new business in Florida is going to start out at 2.75%. Some PEOs will charge less than that as a way to say, hey, we can save you money. Some will charge more than that. Southeast, typically what we see from Southeast is around 3.5 or 3.48% on the first 7,000 of payroll. They're supposed to cut it off after that, but many times we see they don't. And that just goes to added fees that they're getting because they only owe the state so much, but they're going to just take it from the client. Under the workers' compensation, we all know how to calculate that, or we should know how to calculate that. So it's going to be based on the state rate versus what's there. So times an experience modifier. PEOs have the ability to increase that or decrease that because the business owner using the PEO is not a named insured. The PEO is giving that named insured, that business owner, workers' compensation contractually. State allows this. And there are many benefits to being a named insured that people miss out on as part of a PEO, which is kind of dangerous. You don't have to be licensed to sell a PEO. So the PEO provider who's selling that, or the PEO broker, can't legally tell the business owner the risks that they are taking on by being in a PEO. So I start out, I look at the invoice, look at the check register, and put all the payroll, the gross wages. I look for regular time and overtime on here. We can see that I put all the gross wages into a file. So I'm going to start out with, we've got a worksheet that we can work off of, and I'm going to put it into sheet 1. And I've already done it here, but I'll just start over since it's pretty straightforward. So on here, we've got $1,433.28 of gross wages. Of that, $291 is overtime. And I'll show you what that means in a second. So these are the gross wages. This is the overtime wages. To figure out these gross wages include the overtime. We need to back into what the amount that they would legally be charged for workers' comp. And we all know time and a half is what the overtime rate is. So of workers' comp wages, you're just paying the regular time wages on that. So if the employee is getting paid $10 and they're making overtime, they're going to be getting paid $15 an hour for that overtime. And so it wouldn't be fair to the employer to be charged for workers' comp on that extra $5. So you got to back out the extra half that they're getting to get the workers' comp rate. So we take that, divide it by 3, and then multiply it by 2. And that's going to give us our our wages. So to get the workers' comp wages, I take the gross wages and subtract the overtime wages and add back in the workers' comp wages. So that's the number we need to figure for workers' comp. For Social Security and Medicare, make this smaller so I can organize my screen. Buddha, we have So once I put that out, I'm going to do the math and figure out what those percentages are. So that's just a ratio formula. So you're going to, using Excel, I'm not going to teach you how to use Excel in this class, but you need to become proficient with Excel. Creating a formula that equals, take the number that you want to divide, and then divide it by the gross wages. We need to figure that out for all of these. So we're going to keep that cell the same. So we want to keep L11 the same. So I put a $sign in front of it, and that's going to hold that formula there while that's interesting. Oops. Messed up there. So we need to adjust that. Make sure check your math, make sure it's right. So we turn these into percentages. That's the rates they're charging them. So you can see for the federal, Social Security and Medicare, they're getting charged 7.65%. For food, they're getting charged 0.6%. And then for SUTA, these people are, Southeast is making an extra point on this from what they normally charge people. So 4.48%. And then we can see what they're charging for the workers' comp rate at 11.54%. They're not charging anything for health because they're not providing, and they're getting hit with a 5% admin fee. That's pretty rough. But remember what I was saying about the workers' comp wages. We've got to back into what those real numbers are, because this has got overtime and you're not paying on almost $100 worth of overtime. So to figure out the workers' comp rate, we take this number divided by that, by the workers' comp wages. So we can see they're getting paid, charged 12.22. Well, if we turn that into a decimal percentage, they're getting charged almost 12.25 points for workers' comp for the tree trimming class code. One of the other things you've got to watch out for with Southeast is they have a weekly minimum, and you'll see that weekly workers' comp admin minimum. So for higher risk classifications, they want to see more premium. And it's pretty difficult to back into that, but what I do is I take this number, the workers' compensation that they charged, and the workers' comp admin adjusted minimum that they charge, and add them together. So we see that the adjustment is $127. That plus that equals, so they want to see at least $326 a week. Figure out what they want for that annually. I multiply that by the 52. And see that they want to get just about $17,000 of workers' compensation on that, in addition to what they're getting. So if we take this rate and multiply these wages and multiply it by 52 weeks, we'll see that they're going to pay out about they're going to have about $85,000 in workers' comp wages on approximately $90,000 in wages for the year. That's a pretty significant number. So if I take this number here, the annualized wages, and divide the workers' comp by the annualized wages, we see that they're charging them close to 20% for that rate. So what I do then, once I've figured out what all these rates are, so we know that they're going to get charged approximately 20%. It's going to vary week by week unless they grow. So until their payroll increases significantly, they're going to have that minimum. So then we need to figure out what our costs are going to be. We go over to our workers' comp page where we can enter our classification codes and enter the rate. I've already done it for this. You can find the rates on the quick rates at NCCI. It's free to sign up. Don't order anything or we'll get charged for it, but you go in under the risk workstation, quick rate, enter the state you're looking for. And we can see that the rate for this year is $11.54. Oh, wait a minute, we've seen that before. So it looks like, so when the business owner goes through and says, oh, look, I'm getting charged the state rate for it, but they're really not. They're showing them. So if the business owner comes in and does some math and says, oh, look, the state rate's $11.54, they've got me $11.54, I'm happy. They're really not paying that, but effectively they're paying 20%. So we see that, hey, if we're going to have $85,000 in workers' comp fees this year, or workers' comp wages under the tree trimming code, we can see that the manual rates are going to be approximately $9,800. Most businesses in the trades are going to need a waiver of subrogation and increased limits. If they don't need that, you just zero that out. We try to get people to do the safety credit as well as the drug-free credit. If they don't have that, you can enter that here. But most of the time they're going to need this and that. So we have the conversation with the tree trimmer. I say, hey, what about drug-free? They say, I'm not going to get any workers, so we don't add that in. We can see here that based on these rates, with the increased limits, safety credit, and this terrorism surcharge and expense constant, their costs are going to be about $10,110. So while, yes, the rate's there, of 1154, we're going to show, I mean, it's really not a discounted rate because they don't have quite enough payroll yet to experience some of the benefits of the discount. But they're going to get charged $11.90 on average if they hit that number. So we go over here and put under our worksheet. So here's Arden's proposed. So I'll walk through this worksheet. We put all our information in here where for these folks. So speaking with this business owner, they said this week was a little bit light. They've got a guy that's off duty, so that they project about $100,000 throughout the year. So let's increase that to 100. We can see that they're going to get a little bit better rate, but not much. So 1171. So we go down here to the workers' comp rate. After that, SUTA, every business that starts out is going to have 2.7%. That's going to go up or down based on their turnover and people who go and file for unemployment. FICA and FUTA, those are set by the federal government. You can't play with those. So we set those at 7.65%, 0.6%. So we can see that $100,000 over here with 4 employees. We're gonna have those kind of numbers. Up at the top is where we put the PEO's numbers. So we set the SUTA and FUTA wages, except we can see that Southeast isn't turning their SUTA and FUTA on because here it is June. Most people would have hit $7,000 already, especially Mr. Gabby Jean, who confirmed with the business owner that he has been working all year and has made over $7,000, and we can see that they haven't shut them off. So with them, we're going to set the SUTA wages at, because that's what they're getting charged. So we see that our rates for FUTA is there, 4.48. We'll enter that over here. And the effective workers' comp rate of 20%. So then the admin rate of 5%. We got all these numbers by going back and doing the math, taking the adjustments over here. For the weekly minimums, we add those back together to figure out their effective rate. And we have to be very clear with the clients about this because a lot of people don't like math and feel like they're getting hosed. So here's how we're going to do it. We just very clear about it. So we've gone through, did the math there, put our numbers in. Even though it looks like we're charging more for work, we're going to have to charge more for workers' comp. We're effectively not. We can see that they've got an effective employee company rate per employee of 38% of their costs. I mean, that's a tremendous amount. We're at 22%, and then it'll be 3 points lighter after the cutoff. So that's a tremendous amount of money. So the total employee cost for the year with Southeast is looking to be about $52,000, $53,000. With us, oops, got to check our math because going to check our formulas because these can get screwed up. With us, their employee costs should be about $25,000. We're not charging anything for the admin. They can get an outsourced payroll solution, or they may say, hey, I want to bring payroll in-house and do it. So if they don't have that, they're going to have even more savings. But we're going to say, hey, it costs $5,000 for an outsourced payroll solution. So down here, it all filters down through the formulas of what they're getting charged. So with this business, effectively, we can see that we're going to save them $27,000. It's a huge number. Many business owners feel like they are good business owners and feel like they're not getting hosed. That's a huge number. It's a business with $100,000 in payroll, cutting close to $30,000 in cost is going to go directly to their bottom line. The biggest problem we're going to have is that business owner not feeling stupid for having overpaid for so many years. But it's really important to be able to walk the client through this and then print this out and say, here's how we arrived at these numbers. Here are the assumptions we've made. This one's pretty black and white because there's only one class code and 4 people. It's pretty easy. There's others where you're going to get where there's multiple class codes, multiple locations, where they're going to have blend your grades. And so this is your basic introduction to evaluating a PEO invoice. Thanks.